All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD, or Application and Website Development Program, and in particular the AWD 1111.NET Framework with Web Databases class, I'm going through a series of video presentations I'm creating based on the textbook that will be used for the AWD 1111 class in the fall 2019 semester. That book is Pro ASP.NET MVC 5 and APRES Text by Adam Freeman. I am in the middle of Chapter 10. We're talking about mobile development for our Sports Score app. And we left off last time where we were able to make our screen look like this. So again, when I shrink it down, all right, you can kind of compare and contrast the two of them there. All right, so continuing on, mobile first versus desktop first. Well, for years when people have developed websites, myself included, you've always done desktop first. It's easier. All right, and then you worry about support for mobile clients later. That's known as desktop first design or desktop first development. And it's not so much that that's bad, but it makes it the mobile experience harder, or as the author calls it, more awkward. The alternative philosophy to this is to go the other way and do a mobile first development, which starts with a mobile client as the foundation for the application and adds features as we go on for non-mobile type of desktops, etc. So it says, or put another way, desktop first tends to start with a full set of features and degrade gracefully. Mobile starts with a smaller set of features that enhances as you go on. Both approaches have their merits. Both approaches have their converts and their advocates, etc. The author says that he tends to favor desktop development first because it's easy to get it up and running. All right. The danger he mentions there of putting any group of users first is that you create a substandard for the other group. All right. And remember, as an example, I am now 62 years old. It is much easier for me to go out and order things on a laptop, and I'm doing this presentation here from a laptop, as opposed to doing it from a phone. Can I do it from a phone? Yes. But with 62-year-old eyes, I'd prefer not to. I like to be able to go in there and do this if I really want to do that. All right? It's very hard to do with a phone to make it big enough typically. All right. To complete the responsive adaptations, we need a product list that will display on narrow devices. The biggest problem is that we've caused by the horizontal space taken up by the category buttons. So we're going to move the buttons out of the way, giving the individual product descriptions the whole width of the display. We're going to further modify the layout CS/HTML file. No changes there or there, but it's down near the bottom, right up above the render body. So it's the div, not the div that includes the render body. All right, but notice what we're doing. We're saying to make this on an extra small device only 3 columns wide, and on a bigger device, make it 8 columns wide. All right? So here, this will be 12 wide. Let's just go with the flow here. So again, we come into our layout. We find our render body, which is right here. Again, the idea is to create a responsive product list. All right. Panel. You know what? Just to be sure, I'm going to go back in here. I'm going to grab the entire body. Just grab every bit of it. Oops. Try it again. Grab every bit of the body. Copy it to the clipboard. Then do the same thing here. All right. So the author says there can only be one call to render body in a layout. All right, we'll go into the details of this later on in the book in Chapter 20. But the effect of this limit is that we can't have duplicate sets of elements to show and hide depending on the size. Rather, we need to change the layout of the grid that contains the render body so that all the elements will fit. One of the reasons that the author used the bootstrap grid is because it includes some responsive design functionality. The grid layout supports 12 columns, okay? And as long as you set up things so basically they equal 12 or less, you'll be okay. Bootstrap provides a set of classes that use the number of columns that an element occupies in the grid based on the width of the window. And that's, for lack of better words, that's what we're doing in here right now. All right, so let's see if it works. File. Save all. If this works, if you look here on page 263, this is the way it'll look. However, notice how much it changes when we make this smaller. So we'll only know by running the program again. As always, file, save all. Let's run. So again, the idea is we want it to look like this from this. You see our buttons are gone. All right. And this has been shored up for lack of better verbiage. Okay. Well, that looks a heck of a lot better than it did previously. All right. Stop the run here. Go back to our text. All right. I'm up to page 264, and as you can see here, the author says, I don't want to leave mobile users without the ability to filter products. In other words, what we just did was we removed those buttons. All right, so we're going to create a new view called menu horizontal.cshtml in the views folder. So we want the views nav, add view, menu horizontal, click add, let's put in content, so the author says here, this is a variation of the original menu.cshtml layout, but with a container div element and some bootstrap classes to create a horizontal layout of buttons. The basic functionality is the same. We have generated a set of links that will filter the products by category. The set of category buttons is generated through the menu action method of the nav controller. So we need to update the nav controller to be able to take advantage of what it is we want to do here. So let's do a file save all for right now. And let's go back to our nav controller. All right, and that partial view result that we have here is going to be replaced. All right, jumping back into the book. Here is part of it on the bottom of the page. We're going to get an error because it's only partial. Probably 2 because we need that. All right. Looks like we're missing a curly brace. All right. And the author says here, we have defined a new parameter for the action method that specifies the orientation that will be used to select the name of the file passed into the partial view method. To set this value, we need to return to the layout CS.html. So what we're saying is we want to use one menu when we're at one width and another menu when we're at another width. So we've got to go back to our layout CS.html file. And right here, right before we have our row panel, so in here, we want yet another div . All right, if I did all that correctly, I was able to put all that code in and not muck it up at all. The optional third argument to this right here is an object that allows us to set values for the routing system, which will be explained in chapters 15 and 16. This feature will be used to signal which view the controller should select. The overall effect should be the one that's shown here. In fact, let's do a file save all, and let's run this again. But the effect we're looking for is that which is shown here on page 266. See how the menu has changed. You can see that moving the buttons to the top of the product listing creates enough space for each product to be displayed properly. We could continue improving it, but you get the idea. You can see this is a little, crunched. The other thing is, too, is what if you add another category? All right. I mean, this could literally, we could put each one of these on its own line, for example. So there's a lot of different ways this could be done. Okay. And there you see it. So now, go to our categories. Hello. That didn't look very good, did it? Well, if there's an error there, hopefully we're going to fix it in the rest of the chapter. We are at 16 minutes. Another good time, I believe, to stop where we currently are, and I'll be back with part 3 very soon.